Welcome back. Yes, it's still the morning brief, the Christmas special right here on Channels Television. We're broadcasting live from Lagos. And of course, you see, we're dressed differently. I can see Bukola on this. They set me up. But it's okay. It's okay.
I'm more like Father Christmas, not Santa.
Christmas. Yeah,
Father Christmas.
No, you're actually Santa.
No, Father Christmas. That's what it is.
All right, we have a lot for you. But the very first thing we're going to do today, besides all of the music, is we had a conversation with your Oluwa Warri Ogiame Atuwase on his message for Christmas and some of the things he would like to share with the rest of Nigeria and the rest of the world. So our colleague, Anwar had that conversation with him. Let's take a listen.
Christmas, everyone, and by now you know why it is called the most wonderful time of the year. It's the Christmas edition of the Morning Brief, and once again, to everyone watching right now, I hope you've been having a fantastic holiday. Once again, Merry Christmas. And of course, it's a very special edition of the program today, and we'll be looking at Christmas through the ages with the theme Exploring Christmas, Traditions, Values, and Celebrations Across Generations. We have a special guest on the show today. He's the Olu of Warri, His Royal Majesty Ogiame Atuwase III. Thank you very much for joining us on the Morning Brief, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning and Merry Christmas.
All right, so let's talk about your childhood, growing up. I mean, we all have fond memories, different memories of what Christmas was like growing up. But let's take a look at what it was traditionally, how it was celebrated traditionally in your childhood, and what are some of the fondest memories you have of Christmas?
If I am understanding you clearly, when you say traditionally, obviously I grew up in Warri, and we're talking about Warri in the 80s and 90s. There wasn't too much traditional in the way I understand you saying traditional. It was big town, small city, children running all over the place, dressed up, being happy, being merry. And so when I think about my childhood Christmas, it is, first of all, it is Harmattan, which sets the tone to let you know that we are at the end of the turn of the year. And Christmas carols, children coming around dressed up, coming back from church or family gatherings, as it were. And obviously this being or growing up in the home of a king is people coming in, sometimes collectively, sometimes as individuals, to come and felicitate with him. So those are my memories of growing up Christmas, Warri. If you really want to have a clear compare and contrast.
Yes.
Traditionally, obviously, Christmas is not an indigenous thing, which is an obvious statement. But at the turn of the year, as I said, and people knew the year was coming to an end before the concept of Gregorian calendar, before the advent of Christianity, for us to even understand it's Christ, therefore it's Christmas and all of that. The way things were done when the Harmattans came and you knew the year is turning, everybody would go back to their villages. And it was just simply a sense of, there was not a uniform celebration throughout this kingdom. So every community, every village had its own dance, its own masquerade, its own unique way of celebrating the fact that the year was coming to an end. But obviously, when we now have the Gregorian calendar and the whole concept of Christmas, it's still sort of the same, people going back to their specific communities, their specific villages and hometown. And obviously there's the modern element. They may now have funds to turn it into a little carnival-like celebration at that level. Masquerade dances, traditional performances, but it all still spoke to the one thing that has been consistent over the generations, whether it's pre-Gregorian calendar or now that we celebrate Christmas. It's still the concept of looking back home and coming back and being with your family and I suppose your friends at that home level.
So would you say, all right, but so talking about, since you have almost answered my next question about what value or what traditional Christmas celebration do you believe are still relevant that youths can embrace at this time?
Well, it will still point to home, family values. And I think that also ties into the whole concept, original concept of Christmas itself. We know the story. Mary and Joseph were about to have a child, and happened to be there was a census, so everybody go home, go home. And when the home front is well organized, it is set, there is respect for the structure of the family, I believe only good things come out of that foundation. So whether we're talking about our youth today or the youth to come in the future, if they have good, sound, family, home-based structures, it's only going to be wholesome values that are going to come out of that. Respect, hard work, kindness, consideration, selflessness, and things like that. It all still comes from the seed that is a wholesome home environment. And so many good things come out of that.
When you look at the challenges that we have in Nigeria today, from security to economy, there's so many things people are facing at this time. How can Nigerians draw inspiration from the teachings of Christ to bring about positive transformation, personal renewal, and better development that would also have ripple effects in helping the country develop?
That's going to be an interesting question. I think a good place to start from in answering that question, drawing from the teachings of Christ, would be to sit back and self-reflect. Sincerity, in humility. And I say this because we've heard it said often that it's easy to, as people, as followers, complain about the situation we find ourselves in. But what is happening in Nigeria or in any country in the world today is a deeper reflection of the people, their values, the things they embrace, the things they celebrate, the things they tolerate. So I think if the individual is sincere in self-reflection as to how can I be better? How can I be an asset to my community, to my country, to my fellow man? And if that is percolating, it's a ripple effect through all and sundry. But like I said, it starts from inside. What comes out is something that will transform this country. But if it comes out from a place of simply looking at, if you want to call it, the facts, one can act in a way that could only only lead to further frustration, even if the intention is good. But if you are acting from that place of truth, not facts now, inner, wholesome truth, you are more likely to have something that will positively transform this nation.
Since we're all in this season of Christmas, it should be a time to reflect, as you said earlier, which leads me to my next question, where young people come out of school, everyone is waiting for white-collar jobs. How can youths be inspired to focus on skills development, entrepreneurship, community building, things that do not necessarily have them rely on government, or how to help develop other people around them, building human capital and all of that? How will youths be inspired to be able to fend for themselves and do other things for people around them too?
Skill acquisition. The internet is a great place, free of charge, for people to go on YouTube, Google, to basically get free tuition, free tutelage, free lectures on what you could do. There's almost a do-it-yourself how to do things on the internet. So if it is welding, 3D laser cutting, handcrafts, there are so many things to learn on the internet. Yes, not everybody may have access to the internet to sit down. So I'm just using this off the top of my head. If somebody, as opposed to getting old school style, a lecturer to come and say, oh, we're teaching you skill acquisition, and it's a room of 200 people. If you can get a room of 200 people, cinema style, and there's data, and they are now learning, okay, these are the raw materials you need. That way you don't even have to pay the lecturer or whoever who is teaching. I'm just saying all this to say, with creative use of the internet, we can get solutions. Instead of waiting for some experts to travel from far to say, oh, let's do this. Aside from the internet, necessity is the mother of inventions, and I'm saying that in a positive way. Necessity being the mother of invention, being when you actually sit down and look and think, how can one make the situation better? Usually out of desperation, people think creatively, negatively. How can we sabotage? How can we bootleg? How can we impersonate fraudulent activities? That usually is what easily flows when we want to say necessity is the mother of invention. But if we're able to actually sit down, a few people, youths and all that, to think, how can we be creative in a positive direction? Because I believe this country has had so many great ideas thrown at it over time. Whether those great ideas are implemented, that is another conversation. And I don't know what new idea I'm going to tell you now and say, oh, let us try this. Because if you probably go and research, you will see, oh, this idea was already given over and over again. So bringing it back to what I said about where it comes from. If you want to approach necessity as the mother of inventions from things are so hard and the facts, you could get to a frustrating and not necessarily positive building, positive outcome. But if it is coming from a place of true self-reflection and how can one get a creative solution, I think you're more likely, even though it is the same thing that has been given for over decades, you're more likely to the stream is more likely to be positive.
So what is your message for Nigerians this Christmas season, especially regarding unity, purpose, and hope for a better future?
Some would even say it is the hope that we have been praying and preaching for that has even somewhat kept Nigerians complacent. So I do not want to say the same message that has been said for 63, 64 years. It has to be said differently. I know we are talking about Christmas, but when you look in the Bible, it says when the Tower of Babel was being built, no matter the situation you find yourself in as human beings, when we come together in unity and we say, this is what we want to do and achieve. I'm not talking about being disorderly or being violent or being forceful. When human beings come together in unity and oneness of heart, mind, purpose, and say, this is what we want to achieve, even God knows those people are going to achieve that thing. The Tower of Babel is an example. Even though that was an example for bad, men came together and said, let us build a tower to basically go up to heaven and confront the Maker. And God did not look at them and laugh and think these are human beings. I'll just snap my finger and He said, if we do not go to interrupt what they are doing, I'm paraphrasing, they will achieve what they've set out to do. So, once again, from the inside, Nigerians need to come together in oneness of purpose, not to build the Tower of Babel now, but to build a beautiful version of how they see Nigeria should, could, and will be. And we should not allow the division to come and scatter, because it will come in many guises. You are from a different tribe, you are from a different state, you are from a different religion, a different orientation. And if we allow those divisions to continue to divide us, the simple truth is nothing is going to change. There's no flowery way to put it. So if we want to say Nigerians should have hope and unity, there has to be working with the government. We're not talking about rebellion or uprising. We're talking about a really honest conversation that has to be championed and supported by the government. And when they see that unity of purpose, that Nigerians actually want to come together, not political guys and divide and all that, because that also wants to come into further divide. But if we actually come together sincerely and say, this is the vision, the plan of Nigeria that we want, even God knows, nothing will stop this country. Nothing. It's only us that can stop ourselves. It's not foreign interests. It's not capital interests from outside Nigeria. It is Nigerians that will stop Nigeria from being great.
Thank you very much. And once again, Merry Christmas. And I wish you the very best in 2025. Olu of Warri, His Royal Majesty Ogiame Atuwase III. Thanks for your time on the Morning Brief. Thank you very much. And that's our chat with His Royal Majesty Ogiame Atuwase III. It's been a wonderful conversation we've had. And once again, to everyone watching right now, Merry Christmas. It's back to you guys. And what would we do without our colleague Anne Owanwodo? Thank you, Anne, for holding the fort. And profound message there from Ogiame Atuwase III, from royalty, on the values of Christmas and especially the way forward for Nigeria. He spoke about, moving forward not just in unity but also in purpose. Speaking of which, there's more to come purposefully on the program today. We started off with Christmas carols, beautifully ushering us in, and now we're transitioning into something just as beautiful. It's Christmas, so our job is easy on the program today, guys.
Yes, but we will take just a quick break. And when we come back, we'll launch out and give you that very, that delicacy we prepared for you. We told you it's going to be a special one, so stay with us.